We'll be taking a look at wide area networks, specifically SD-WAN. Well, what does that mean? Find out next right here on IT Pro TV.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
We are jumping in and taking a look at SD-WAN, and here to help us to understand this concept a bit better is going to be Anthony Sequeira. Anthony, as we get started here, did we just tack on just 2 letters, SD, to WAN, and we don't really need to know anything else?
Yeah, you know, software defined? Okay, cool. So
yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, what exactly does that mean in terms of the wide area network? And, you know, Ronnie, there's a theme that we've run into already in these episodes. We're going to run into it again today. We're going to run into it later this afternoon when we turn our attention to SD access. It's this recurring theme of underlay and overlay.
Okay.
It almost seems like that could be kind of the motto of Encore. So let's take a look. Let's jump right in. And I wanted to start with, just a reminder. There is actually 2 variations of this that you could run into with Cisco systems. So there's a Meraki, depending on who you're talking to, SD-WAN solution. And then there's what's called Cisco SD-WAN. And then notice in parentheses, I have Viptela. So this is a solution that came from the 2017 acquisition by Cisco Systems of Viptela. It's very much their solution, still alive and well. We'll even see that Cisco is sticking with their names for things. This reminds me of SourceFire's acquisition with the firepower stuff. So we'll see where they're sticking with a lot of their naming conventions. A lot of the technology is pretty much the way it was with Viptela, but we'll see that they're making some moves with it. But anyways, I just wanted to quickly remind you, don't be confused if you see this Meraki SD-WAN. The thing about that one that's interesting is it really focuses on the unified threat management of Cisco systems.
Right.
So your devices are intelligently updating themselves with the latest in security, vulnerabilities and patches and all that stuff. We've get a little bit of that, and we'll see more and more of that coming to the Viptela solution. So I could see these all coming under one umbrella eventually.
All right, so let's talk about this briefly and kind of lay the groundwork. All right, we know what the WAN solutions have been. MPLS,
Yep.
We've done regular links in between them as far as privately leased lines.
Yep.
All these different things. Why switch to SD-WAN?
Yeah. Thank you, Ronnie. And that is what I wanted to spend the most time on in this episode. So I put together a list consulting several different sources.
Right.
Like, what is that WAN wish list that we might have, right?
Okay.
Like, we're in a traditional WAN. What's our ultimate wish list? Well, lowering costs. Okay, so all the time we want cheaper WAN costs, of course. Increase the automation and orchestration. So when we bring up a new WAN link to some new destination, we would want that as automated as possible. Also, the automation of just fundamental maintenance type tasks and all of that. Automation, we know, we're wanting it all the time now across all of our things. But look at the third point. This one is interesting. That is a more seamless integration with all this public cloud.
Okay.
Or even private cloud, but this was really like public cloud in mind. Okay. Think about it. You know, we're doing more and more all the time, Ronnie, with AWS, with Google Cloud, with Azure, with maybe IBM's cloud. So we want our WAN solution to be as cognizant of that as possible and to be able to seamlessly work with it. A great illustration on this that I saw that was just talking about, like, look at your main connection to HQ. A lot of organizations now are doing a ton of cloud stuff from like a branch office, and they're sending all of that traffic destined to, let's say, AWS to the corporate headquarters, and then it goes from there to AWS. It's like, why not just send it directly to AWS? You're putting this tremendous strain on the main WAN link when the traffic is destined for the cloud anyways.
Yeah, it seems like a waste of bandwidth, right? The
Totally.
very fact that it's actually coming to you and then you're sending it back out that WAN link.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can
We
see that.
used to have driving reasons where we wanted to send everything from the branches to HQ,
Right.
maybe security stuff and things like that. But those reasons don't typically exist anymore. We've got security services out at the branch now. Let's have a better integration with cloud. Another thing that a lot of WAN people want to do is they want to make sure that all this software as a service, you know, Google Docs and Office 365 and all these SaaS apps, they want to make sure that they are running well in the WAN. So that's another wish. Transport independence. This is a big one. We might have some satellite links. We might have some layer 3 MPLS VPNs. In some parts of the country, some parts of the world, there's still a bunch of frame relay.
Right.
So we could have all of this cellular, all of these different underlying underlay technologies. There it is again, that word, underlay technologies. We could have all this hodgepodge of stuff, and we would love for a solution to lay right on top of that. Obviously, that's what we're going to have. SD-WAN, as you know, addresses all of these wishes. Enhance app visibility. So when we have an application that is running from the branch office to headquarters and then to another branch, we want visibility into that application. And finally, end-to-end segmentation. That would be nice. So we might have our research and dev team, and we want them dynamically segmented as they transit the WAN. All of these desires are made possible by the SD-WAN solution from Cisco, and it's a bunch of moving parts that make it happen. But before we talk about those parts, I just want to emphasize something here that I attempted to draw out for you. By the way, this is like my best PowerPoint work of all time.
Okay.
Ronnie, see how nice that cloud looks?
It looks beautiful.
Ronnie was like, dude, your cloud's like way off, hanging off the edge of your slide. I'm like, oh, that's by design. Anyways, so look at this, folks. Any mix of WAN tech. Do you see that there? So, Ronnie, there's our underlay.
Right.
It's like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you could have a home office worker with their cable modem or DSL if they're in an old DSL scenario. That's fine. Any underlying WAN technology for the underlay, and then notice, what is SD-WAN? This is the best definition of it I've ever heard. It's simply a cloud-delivered overlay for wide area networking. That's it. So we are going to be, providing this overlay intelligence from the cloud as the way we're going to implement the overlay in this case.
Now, after listening to how you actually went through that list of different kind of wishes that we wanted, so just check me if I'm actually right in my assumption here. So what we're actually saying is this overlay kind of makes that stuff as transparent and tries to help reach those goals as much as possible, so that maybe the administrators that's not great at the underlying technology, they can focus in on the functionality that they really want to accomplish?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So we mentioned that, someone's going to be sitting there controlling all this. Ronnie, what is that specifically? Well, if you look at the classic Viptela solution, it's a graphical user interface, Ronnie, called vManage. Mm-hmm. So the little lowercase v in front of all these roles tells us that it's Viptela. Okay. Yeah. So vManage is the classic GUI from Viptela that Cisco now owns and you can use. But notice what I have on screen. Where do you think all this technology is going as far as management goes?
DNA.
Sure. Cisco's DNA Center. So as I record this for you, as Ronnie and I are speaking to you, that's all arriving. In fact, it already has in Cisco DNA Center. So you can do all of this no longer using that GUI from Viptela, the vManage GUI, but it's still totally supported. And I imagine there's plenty of shops out there that are like, yeah, we're not going to do this in DNA Center yet. We're already doing it fine in vManage. So vManage is your graphical user interface, Ronnie, for managing the SD-WAN. What is the brains behind it? What's the control plane intelligence for these wide area network circuits? It's vSmart controllers. Now, what is a vSmart controller? Like, is it a special appliance? No, it's actually a virtual machine. Remember, this is cloud-based technology, so you're going to have a virtual machine set up or multiple of them set up, and those are your vSmart controllers. Now, where are your routers? There's got to be routers here. Well, they're your vBond and your vEdge devices. The vBond is a router in this scenario with a very special purpose. It's authenticating everyone, and it's like taking care of pathing decisions. So it is a key, unique role that exists for our routers. The rest of our routers are vEdge devices, we call them. So it's a integrated service router or it's a cloud service router, and it is one that is running this Viptela software to give it the vEdge device intelligence. So lots of options on your routers. That's great news. Both hardware routers, Ronnie, we can use, or complete software solutions.
All right, so let's talk about some of these different devices at these levels that you're talking about that you see right here.
Yeah.
So you had actually mentioned this idea of the control plane. So lead us through not only that control plane again, but the data plane devices that we need to be
Absolutely. And that's a key for your Encore exam objectives. And I love how Ronnie's always keeping us conscious of those exam objectives for those of us that are interested. So yeah, vManage, your single pane of glass, that's really your network management plane, right? And then the vSmart controller, that's your control plane intelligence. Notice it's DTLS tunnels that are going to be dynamically formed from your vSmart controller out to those vEdge routers. And there's a new protocol called the Overlay Management Protocol, which handles the establishment and the maintenance of the neighborships in this relationship. Notice the vEdge routers, they're the data plane. They're moving all this traffic through the WAN for us, and iOS XE is the main operating system that we find here.
All right, so tell us just a brief idea. How different is this iOS XE versus just a regular
You have
iOS?
to really hunt to see that, oh, I'm on an XE device. Yeah, so they do a great job of a consistent look and feel. And if you want to practice with this, I know it's not officially part of Encore, but if you want to get some iOS XE practice on a device that would really be used in this solution, head up to the Amazon Web Service Marketplace.
Right.
There is the CSR 1000V. Have you seen that up there?
I have.
Yeah, it's like a 30 or 60 day eval license for you. So you can spin that up. You can practice away at the iOS XE command line, and you could set up the components of the SD-WAN if there's an evaluation license for that. I'm almost positive there is. And so you could be evaluating it that way. By the way, another way to play with some of this tech is the sandbox up at Cisco's DevNet. So there's an SD-WAN sandbox. You've got your vSmart controllers, you've got your vEdge devices, you've got a vBond router. It's all right there ready to play with.
Yeah, the neat thing that I found out about the XE that I really didn't know until I started looking at it is that ability to actually do some of that network programming, programmability that we need into it. Whereas somebody might go, well, it's an iOS. Well, no, the way that we interact with the iOS is through the command line. On this one, you have both that ability to do so, something we're familiar with, but also the ability to start using that SD portion of it, the network programmability portion. And that's what makes a difference here.
I think it's clear, Ronnie, how we're going to see every single OS soon from Cisco supporting the programmability.
Right.
But I love what you said there. iOS XE was one of the first to offer that. Very cool. So one of the things that I struggled with, Ronnie, and I really elaborated here on it for our students, was the vBond.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, the vSmart controller, yeah, that's just a software-defined controller doing the control plane. Okay, that makes sense. And then your vEdge devices. But this vBond was interesting. Its full name, as you can see here, is the vBond Orchestrator. And like I said, one of the key aspects of this device is that it's going to be authenticating those vSmart controllers and those vEdge devices. And the other interesting thing about this is you could set all of this up and you wouldn't have but one public IP address. So that's pretty interesting. This is the one device that would require a public IP out of all of the devices that we've spoken of. So this is a router. Remember now, this isn't a VM. This is a router that has the special job. I got to back up. What I just said there was technically incorrect. This is a router. It might be implemented as a VM if you have a virtual router doing this, but it is the router software was my point. It's not like this is just a VM that doesn't have the router intelligence built in. So this orchestrator is hugely important, a required component. And there's another feature that I wanted to talk to you about, just so you know it's there. It's totally optional. You wouldn't have to do this, but there is an analytics piece, Ronnie. So if you wanted super detailed information about how your WANs are being used and the apps that are traversing the WANs, the vAnalytics is for you. And the last thing that I want our students to know about when it comes to Cisco's SD-WAN solution is on-ramps for both SAS and IaaS. So what they did here was they gave you kind of optional blueprint technology that you can implement into the SD-WAN if you're planning on doing a ton of software as a service or infrastructure as a service with one of your major cloud vendors. So this solution has this on-ramp functionality that you can add so that you can really seamlessly interact with a ton of WAN traffic potentially with your cloud provider for either of these roles. So it's an impressive solution. And I could see them, Ronnie, adding more features like this, right? Like they can kind of tack on features to this SD-WAN umbrella based on what the enterprise wants to accomplish.
Yeah, I can see that as well. The very fact is that that term itself is so widely used now that you're even starting to see from other vendors that they're adding and tacking on more than just the things that we're talking about. And Cisco's probably going to follow suit as well.
Yep.
But thank you, Anthony, for helping us to at least be able to understand a little bit more about the functionality of SD-WAN and why we would actually choose to do so. Make sure you pay attention to the control plane and data plane elements as well. And of course, being able to differentiate between the traditional WAN and of course the SD-WAN, which Anthony did show us how to understand the goals that we actually set in traditional WANs to help us to understand that better and why we'd choose SD-WAN. Well, that is a great place for us to go ahead and end this episode then. Signing off for IT Pro TV, I'm your host, Ronnie Wong.
And I'm Anthony Sequeira.
Stay tuned right here for your CCNP Encore show.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.